Does it feel like you are overstimulated and overwhelmed most of the time? Maybe you are short and you yell at your kids because it feels like they are constantly the cause of the chaos in your home. I mean, there's toys all over the floor, the constant need for snacks, the whining. Oh, the whining. Sibling fights. I mean, the list could go on. And yet the sweetest gift that we could give our family is a calm and peaceful home. And surprisingly, it's actually quite simple. And it starts with you. Welcome to the Slowish Parenting Podcast. I'm your host, Alexis. I'm a mama to 2 little girls and a parenting coach. I help moms who are burned out, tired, and stressed feel happy and confident so they can enjoy a little more ease in their daily life. If you want to unlearn parenting and awaken your innate design, then you're in the right place. Alrighty, let's get into today's episode. Hello, you guys, and welcome back to another episode. Today, we are going to be talking about how to create a calm and peaceful home. I know so many of you have younger kids, whether that's babies, toddlers, really small children, I would say under the age of 7. And so I want you to know that depending on where you're at in your journey of motherhood, how many kiddos you have, all of the things, this is going to look different for you from season to season. And so I have a list of 10 things here, and I would say all of them really are. There's maybe a couple that won't apply if you have just a baby or you have 2 toddlers. But maybe it's not that they don't apply. It just needs to be done a little bit differently, or it needs to just kind of shift our mindset. And I want you to know that the expectation when we have really small kids is moving through the ups and downs with ease. That doesn't mean that we don't have hiccups. That doesn't mean that our kids don't have tantrums. Like, my kids are going through a really hard season right now. And truthfully, I'm recording this at night because I'm burned out. I'm tired. And I'm creating a course. We've got a lot going on in our life, and it's like sometimes I need these reminders. Like, as I was going through this list, I love that this question was asked. It was one of my followers asked about how to create a calm and peaceful home, and it got me thinking about, the things that I am currently doing and the things that I actually want to do better. And so that's kind of what I'm going to be sharing with you today. So let's get into these 10 things, because you guys know I could sit here and I could talk all night, especially about creating a calm and peaceful home. So the first thing that I think is critical in helping you to create this very peaceful home is learning how to regulate your nervous system. I was shocked when I started doing somatic exercises, how quickly my kids' behavior changed in response to my nervous system getting healthier. I had more capacity for their tantrums. I was less phased. I didn't feel as reactive. And in seasons like this, when I'm really, really busy, the nervous system work kind of falls off the wagon, and it really shouldn't. And and I don't want it to, and as I was creating this list, I was going, gosh, I haven't done somatics in like 2 weeks. I really need to get back into that, and so when I'm looking at my kids and I'm looking at their chaos, they are mirroring my internal world. And when we have that perspective, we get less upset with the kids and we look inward and we say, okay, what needs to change here? What within me needs to shift so that I can be there fully present for my kids, so I can be fully regulated? This, I believe, is the mother's ability. Her gift is to be the emotional powerhouse. And this is awesome. And it's really, really cool that she gets to have this ability and this power. And also, I think that it can feel like a lot of weight, and it can feel like it's all on us. And so knowing that even just the smallest shifts in our nervous system are going to help us to have this calm and peaceful home, we don't even need to do anything else. We don't need to do any of the other 9 things on here. We can simply just regulate ourselves, and that is just going to bring so much calm and peace into our just everyday life. Okay, number 2, less stuff. Okay, you knew this was coming. You're like, I knew you were going to say this. Now, granted, I am not a complete minimalist. I would love to be. I would love to get to that point. I would say I have like a lot less stuff than most people. My kids definitely have a lot less toys than most kids. And even right now, we're doing an almost no toy situation. Purely because my kids are struggling with picking up toys, even if it's a small amount. And I'm like, okay, I can't be cleaning all day long and picking up after them. And so we're kind of trying something a little different. And I actually have it right here, the book, because I was looking at it before we started this. But in the book, the Simplicity Parenting book, is where I learned about less toys. And we had really had what I felt like was a minimalistic approach to toys. We had no toys that talked or made bright noises or sounds or anything like that. But this guided me into really keeping that really simple and age appropriate. And, I think that I still even had too many toys out for my kids. And that's why right now we're just doing such a small, minimal amount, like literally just a couple of things as they're figuring out how much capacity do they have, how much ability do they have to pick up their toys in their room, keep it tidy, how much can they handle. And this is the question I'm asking myself. It's like, what can I handle? What capacity do I have? And really recently, I've been asking myself when it comes to items in my home, whether or not I'm keeping them is based off of like, what do I have capacity for? And I just shared this in, I believe it was last week's podcast episode, but you see my little plant here? Okay, he's gotten even deader. I don't know if that's why he's dying more. My 2.5-year-old, she ripped him out completely the other day. I was like, oh, no. But I had shared in that episode that I bought this with the intention of, it'll look really pretty. And now he has no leaves, so he's really not looking so pretty anymore. But that's besides the point. I didn't think to myself, what do I have capacity for? I don't have time to water him right now. As much as I love plants and I would love to, I don't have enough mental capacity with all that I have going on to remember that. And so I need to be really intentional about what I'm bringing into my home and really thinking that through. I mean, everything needs to be intentional. And that's why I love the book Essentialism, really figuring out what's essential, what's necessary, instead of kind of this all over the map situation. So yeah, if you're interested in learning about less stuff, what is a more minimalist lifestyle look like? I love Madison Gray. I think it's Margaret Metheny, I think is her name. I'm trying to think, there's one more. But those are the 2 that I can think of off the top of my head that I just absolutely love and adore. And I think that you will find really helpful in, keep making a more simple life for yourself through getting rid of your stuff. Okay, number 3, lighting. So lighting has been a game changer in our home. And I learned most of this through the Huga book. And I can't remember which one it was now, what the title was, but I'll link it below. But basically, I loved that the Danish are so into like lighting and different times for lighting, and understanding that like most of their lights are warm lights. And then I was watching a podcast with who was it, with Corey Malloy and I can't think of her name, Michelle Chatham, and Molly, I can't remember Molly's name, and it's called The Village Sessions, I believe. And they were talking about light and the effects that it has on the body. And although like I was doing a lot of these things already innately, like having natural light instead of overhead light during the day. And then as the evening, as the sun starts to come down, not having overhead lights on, but having lamps, because that's more at that eye level. Eliminating a lot of blue light and yeah, all those kinds of pieces. And I was like, amazing to me to see the difference that I felt and the difference my kids felt. And so, yeah, I've been prioritizing natural light for ever since my youngest was born, so about 3 years. And so during the day, I don't do any lights, no lights at all. And then as the evening now comes around, this is something new that we've started doing. We've always done like a candlelit dinner. I say always, like for the last few years, we've done a candlelit dinner. It's my kids' favorite part of the day. If we don't light the candle, they're sure to remind us. But we've always done that. But then like as we're cleaning up, usually we'd like hit on the overhead light, and clean everything up. But now we have all these lights that are all at eye level, and it just calms everybody down. And it feels so calm and so peaceful. And I love when my kids say to me, like, Mama, like the house just feels so good. And like, I feel the same way. Like, I feel like the house just feels so good. So lighting can be a huge factor, and just finding little ways to shift your lights. Like if you have all LED right now, just switch over to like a soft light LED. Just finding these little shifts that you can make to make your home just more calm and more peaceful, more candlelight, more natural light, less overhead light, more lamps. I joke and say I'm in my lamp era. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying I'm totally in my lamp era. All right. Number 4 is going to be move slow. So as a recovering perfectionist, moving fast is the name of the game. I mean, I thought the faster I moved, the more I would get done. I would be more productive. I would look like the mom that everybody's like, wow, look how much she can do. And that's just not the best version of myself. And so even today, I found myself rushing to get out of the house. I had nowhere to actually be. I had no time frame. I had no like exact time I had to be somewhere. And I was like, Alexis, move slow. So I just literally slowed how fast I was walking. If you're doing dishes, can you slow down how you're doing the dishes? If you're putting your kids to sleep, getting ready for bedtime, can you slow down through that process? And it really helps you to be very intentional with your kids, and just with things in general. You don't run through things, you're kind of taking your time and noticing things, orienting yourself. It's really interesting to see just how moving slowly really helps us to calm ourselves, calm our nervous system. And I really do see it bringing a lot of peace into our home, because I'm not yelling and getting frustrated and snapping at the kids. I'm kind of more chill. So yeah, that's just a little tip there. Okay, number 5 is going to be have a rhythm. I did an entire video on my morning rhythm, how I do that, how I don't like having a schedule anymore. I used to be totally schedule orientated, really wanted a schedule to keep our family on, on a good pace. I wanted to, everybody to know the patterns. And I thought the more scheduled we were, the better the kids would do. And what I found is that the kids just wanted a plan, which leads me to number 6. Like, the kids just need to be in the know of what's going on. And they don't need the same exact thing every single day. But, my kids know in the morning we typically have breakfast, and then I read my Bible at some point, and we usually play for a little bit, and I do a load of laundry. And like, they kind of have this idea of what happens without me having to, I don't know, have like a strict exact, like, this is exactly the plan and how it goes. Some days we eat breakfast and then we connect. And some days the kids run off and play, and I'm able to, read my Bible and get, the laundry done before we even have connection time. It just really depends on the day. And that's what I love about having a rhythm versus a schedule, is it allows for, some ease, some fluidity in how things are done. Okay, number 7, simple meals. Okay, this is what I'm still working on. So I'm giving you advice that I'm trying to implement myself, but stop making over complicated meals and just simplify things. It dawned on me not too long ago. Like, I could make chicken on the smoker. I could take a can of green beans and I could do like sourdough. And that could be dinner. That's simple. Don't have to do a whole lot of things. And I was like, okay, I could do that. And I think that sometimes I think to myself like, oh, like I have to have a whole spaghetti dinner, or, chicken parm, or, it's got to be this whole big thing with, multiple sides, and kids all want different things. And this one doesn't like this month, and this one doesn't like that. So I got to make sure they have something they like on their plate so they'll eat something. It can feel like a battle. And sometimes I'm just like, I need to just do things simpler, in the morning. Scrambled eggs. Right now I made like a whole entire week's worth of hash browns? No, home fries. There we go. So all I have to do is heat them up. And then we're just doing I've been doing cottage cheese, and the kids have been doing some fruit. That's it. Like, it's so simple and nothing to it. Like, I don't have to think. I don't have to make a lot of different things, So can you figure out very simple meals that don't take a lot of brain power, that also don't take a lot of effort, that will make your life a little bit easier, and also can invite your kids in to help you with? Like, I made those home fries, and my kids love cutting up potatoes right now. So I started chopping them up, and the kids like, "Can I help?" And they helped for like an hour, gave them something to do. They were occupied and happy. We were all laughing and singing, and it was a really, really good time. And that wouldn't have happened if I was worried about timing and making sure that the, home fries were a certain size, because I was gonna, add something else to it. And well, the things, you guys know what I'm talking about. All right, let's move on to the next thing. Number 8, having a weekly Sabbath, this time for kind of boredom. I learned about this in the Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, and I've always been interested, and I've semi-done Sabbath in the past. But just having this day just to literally do nothing is so healing for the soul. And I absolutely needed this. And so at first I was like, I don't even know how to do this. And when I started reading about it in that book that I had just mentioned, it totally made sense, And so right now, how we've only done it a handful of times. And I don't like that I'm gonna say because we've been busy, we haven't stuck with it, but it seems like hopefully we're going to be getting into a season where we can just really practice the Sabbath once a week consistently. But basically on a Saturday evening, we will put our phones away. We'll have a whole evening together, play games. Kids will just kind of slowly go to sleep. There's no exact bedtime. It's just kind of they flow into bed. And then my husband and I go to bed. And then the next morning we wake up, we have breakfast. And usually we've been sitting watching the kids, have coffee, we chat a little bit, and then move into lunch. And typically I have lunch kind of already prepped. So it's not anything we need to put together or do dishes or really much of. And then from there, we just kind of be, and really connect with the kids and allow ourselves this time. And then usually, mid-afternoon, we're done with our Sabbath again. And then we go back to, normal life. But it's interesting because I don't feel like I just go back to normal life. I feel like on those days I've really found myself slowing down and feeling more peaceful for a few days, and so I'm curious what'll happen when we're able to consistently practice this every single week, and have more time for boredom. I think kids really need that. Something in the Simplicity Parenting book that Dr. Kim John Payne talks about, I was making sure I said his name right, is just having this boredom. Kids need that, They need to be able to use their imagination and not have everything done for them. And it's painful. It's hard, It's hard as the parent to sustain that, and to be there with them through that, because they don't like it. But it's really, really good for them to begin to learn how to have a bit of time to not know what to do, to help them to figure out, problem solve, give them a really good foundation for when they get into a situation when they're older and, they don't know what to do. They're bored. What are they going to turn to? They're going to turn to screens? Or are they going to turn to, their favorite craft project? Or are they going to turn to drawing? Are they, what are they interested in? Okay, number 9. This made my life so much calmer and so much more peaceful for 2 reasons. So it's limiting screens. Okay. I did a whole video on this, and I've stuck by the whole limiting screens. We do it just once a week right now. And then like when the kids are sick or whatever, like I don't want to be the parent that's like, no, never screens. Because I think that then there's another side to that coin, right? I think kids are really curious and they really want it all the more. But having just kind of limited access has given my ears a break from the constant noise. Even though my kids were only watching a show in the morning, like they each would watch a show and then they would each watch a show in the afternoon. It'd be that's about 2 hours of TV. It's 2 hours of extra noise, overstimulation, that was adding to my overload, adding to my overstimulation. And then the kids were worse, they were just crankier and miserable and whiny, and that added to it all too. I had less capacity because I was having to deal with all these meltdowns and tantrums constantly versus, just a couple of times a day. You have more capacity when you don't have to handle something a ton, So yeah, limiting screens was huge for us. But as I've said previously in that video, which I would go back and watch, but this might not be the season for you to eliminate screens, or limit them. So don't take this one as a necessary need to do thing, because if you are in the middle of rage, for instance, this is something that you're going to want to wait until you're at a place where you can calm yourself down effectively. And this is kind of more of an SOS plan versus like a need to get you out of, the space that you're in. But I share more about that in that video. Okay, the very last thing that I believe creates just this calm and peaceful home is having little moments of connection. I recently did a video on toddlers and how to connect with them, and so many of these things apply to even older kiddos. But finding just these tiny micro moments to actually connect with our kids, make eye contact for 10 seconds, rub their back right here, just for 2-3 seconds, getting down on our child's level, putting our hand on their heart and just saying, I love you. I love who you are. When we're walking from one room to the next and we notice our toddler's next to us or our child's next to us, do we reach out a hand, say, hey, let's walk into the living room, maybe not even say anything at all, just walking with them. So finding these little tiny moments of connection fill our kids' cups. When they are fuller, they are more easeful. They want to listen. They want to do what we've asked, There's less arguing and bickering and yelling from us because they want to obey us, they want to do what they've been, asked to do. And it's a beautiful, really like a harmony that goes on when we're able to do that with our kids. So these are the 10 things that I believe create a calm and peaceful home as a stay-at-home mom. They're all simple. They're not overly difficult. There are things that you can shift and make little shifts throughout your week. But I hope this is a video that you come back to. I hope that this episode is something that reminds you in a really hard season that you can create that calm and peace. It takes a little bit more effort, but there are things that can be done, and maybe you'll kind of start to fall off the wagon like I have, and you just need to be reminded of the things that you need to start doing again to help bring that calm, to help bring that peace into your home. So that way everything runs a little bit more smoothly. So everybody's a little bit happier. There's a little bit more joy and ease in your life. So anyway, I want to thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more content like this, please hit that subscribe button. And yeah, so anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and happy parenting.